Okay, we're going to go get started now that we've got our mic sorted out, Jim. We are recording. At least I am. Steve Schwartz is going to record too. So go ahead and let's go for that intro, dude.
Okay, my name is Jim, otherwise known as Contel, and I first encountered the strange idea when I was 15, which was against all my Christian upbringing, Catholic Christian anyway, that man doesn't have a soul. But unlike the atheists, who just said we die and we turn to dust, this fellow Peter Gurdjieff Ouspensky said that we have the capacity to build a soul. During our life, we might make one somehow. And that's what Phil, I guess, has emphasized in the nature of what he calls soul knitting. Now, I don't know about knitting. It's kind of, I don't have instructions, and Gurdjieff didn't give us any instructions. But he told us to remember ourselves. That's the one thing he always insisted we do, but not tell the devil that we did. When we go into the afterlife, if we say, I self-remembered, the devil may take us. Anyway, that's how I get into this matter of pondering a life. I consider that the life has to be for a purpose. If it means nothing and it's just an accidental, Darwinian accidental agglomeration of molecules, then I'm just blowing smoke in my own ass, which is a hard thing to do. Anyway, pondering the meaning of this life is in terms of, am I building a soul or not? And I think Eagle, Steve, and Phil have mentioned that they have feelings like that in their body. And it is a bodily thing. It's as if, to borrow something from nature, it's as if I'm a caterpillar with the capacity to turn into a butterfly. And that will happen when I die. I will transform from one form into another. I won't be a body anymore, thank God, because this one is just so inadequate and so many troubles. I'll be glad to leave it. But if I have built a soul, you gotta wonder, the question occurred to me anyway, what does a soul do? Does it just wander around like a ghost, watching people for hundreds of years? Is it like heaven or hell? No, I can't believe in a perpetual, infinite, and eternal, paradise of one way or hell of another. Things have to be proportionate. I have trouble with the Hindu and Rosicrucian ideas about reincarnation in the future, time in the future. Come back in, say, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years in the future, and then I have a life with no experience of, and it's all new, and nothing I know or did in a previous life will help me. I wouldn't even remember that previous life. I understand. Everything is speculation. Reincarnation isn't proven, but, we're dealing with what's the best theory and what's consistent. Why would Gurdjieff tell us to build a soul if it would have nothing to do? Then we come to the idea of eternal recurrence. This also, Ouspensky emphasized, is only a theory. But the idea there, if I understand him, and somebody on Yahoo Answers, is kind of like Groundhog Day or a few movies along the line of repeating my own life. Anyone who hasn't read the book by Ouspensky, a little fiction book, it's called The Strange Life of Ivan Osokin. Ivan goes along messing up his life, especially his love life and his financial life. He fritters it away, and he meets a magician, very much like a Gurdjieff figure. And this magician says, you can go back to when you're 12 years old and start your life over again if you want, and see what happens. And this guy, Ivan, says, oh, wonderful. I would love to start my life over. I'll change everything. I won't repeat my mistakes. I'll get that girl that I just hung around with. I'll get that job. I'll stay with whatever it was he was. And he goes back and he remembers that, hey, this is my second life. I'm getting a replay. There's another fiction book entitled Replay. And the emphasis there is someone keeps going back. But that's a love story, really, because he meets someone else who keeps going back at a different age. So anyway, Ivan somehow, in his second try, makes the same mistakes as in the first. And that's because he either did before, or he thinks, this is silly. I just fantasized the whole thing. This is all imagination. I never met a magician anyway, so I don't know why I'm thinking these crazy thoughts. But more and more it makes sense, in the sense of soul living, that I have to live this life over and over and over until I get it right. I don't get different lives. I don't get to, become wealthy in a different life, or a great scientist in a different life, an actress or actor in a different life, a rock musician. I will never be Lady Gaga. What I do get to do is go back with this life, this body, to the same birthday, December 10th, 1949, same parents, and see if I can do anything that changes. And that may account for the phenomenon of déjà vu, which Steve has been fascinated with. And if time is kind of an illusion, and time is really not linear, then we can go back, just start the life over, but only this life. It's the only one we get. And the value of this to me is teaching acceptance, not to argue with God, not to yell and be frustrated and say, this isn't right, I shouldn't be here, I want to be tall, I want to be healthy, I want to be this or that. So that's how it is. It just seems that the best way for me to knit my soul is to ponder. And several ways to ponder. Every night someone can look over their day and review. This is an ancient mystical technique for those wishing to become more adept. Review non-judgmentally what has happened during the day. What events, what thoughts, what things have happened. And basically, it's playing it forward, or paying it forward. You can do that for each day. You can do it pondering the entire life and seeing what the pattern is. But the mistake I tended to make in pondering my life was to think, oh, if only I went to a different college, or if I talked to that cute girl that I was afraid of, or if I took a different job, a different career. What if I never went to law school and I decided to be a veterinarian? What if, what if, what if? All that is pointless. The only thing I can do in pondering that life is how can I do what I did better? How can I have a life that I'm willing to live again? That I'm willing to live over and over and over with a few modifications and changes. In Ivan Ouspensky's case, he was told that some people will appear that never appeared before, other people will disappear, and nobody knows why that is. But life may be the same, it may be a little different, but it all depends upon me knitting the soul, staying aware and awake and self-remembering. Because our culture wants us to lose ourselves. Just disappear. Go away, Get lost in the action, the football game, the soccer game, the bike, the race, the bounce, everything, entertain, amuse, rock on, never think, never ponder, and never be aware of yourself. Culture doesn't want anyone being aware of themselves or of anything around them. Just eat, and fill your mind with the amusements on Facebook. So we're going against culture. Yes, as Martin says, the last thing we did is what we did everything else for. And recurrence is my hope now. That's what I'm knitting the soul for. To knit a guy who's born in the same circumstances, doesn't hate his mom and dad because they weren't wealthy, and learn to accept what I was, and open my eyes and look around and be aware that everything is here. Things are not in books. I was lost in the book world for many, many years. I lived in an artificial reality of labels. Last time we were here, I think someone said if you label something, it disappears. Oh, and my education did a lot of that. Labeling this, labeling that. What kind of tree is this? What kind of car is that? Oh, a Chevy, 57 Chevy. Oh, yeah. And I didn't notice it anymore. It was a 57 Chevy. It was words in my head. It took me a self-remembering technique in my late 40s with divided attention before I could actually look at the world. I had to go out of my mind and come to my senses. Self-remembering is a sensory thing. Thank you, Steve, for saying 10 minutes. I think I'd like to turn this over to other people's ideas on the matter of pondering your life, perhaps recurring it. What would you do different? I think it's all a matter of not what would I do different, but how would I feel different. Maybe I can't change my actions, but I could change my point of view. I could self-remember early life. I could look at things in a different way, even if I can't change them. So, over and out. Have a good discussion, guys.
Very interesting, very interesting. The sound of a very intelligent man who asks these questions. To start off with, we do not have instructions to be born. We do not have instructions to talk. We do not have instructions to walk. And what does one do in one's life? Does one sit on one's backside and do nothing? Or does one go out and strive to live the life? We make mistakes. It is better to do something than to do nothing at all. In reading literature, I have to think of this very fast. In reading literature and reading what other authors write, what we are doing is we're reading about their experiences, and their experiences are completely different to our experiences. Again, every question has an answer, and every answer has a question. And the more questions we ask, we get answers, and for every answer we get, then we question. About going back to the past. Why should we go back to the past? We have learnt our mistakes. Going back into the past, reincarnation or whatever, that's in the past. You've experienced that, so why spend seconds and minutes of your life thinking about the past? There's a little poem that I once read 50 years ago. I still do not understand what it meant. But it goes like this: the only thing that is presented to me for study is the content of my conscience, but of course the content of my conscience and me are not two, but one. Upbringing. We, all of us, brothers, sisters, have different upbringings and have different views in their upbringing. It depends on one's sensitivity And it is only through going out and doing things, meeting people, that we develop and that we learn. And it's only doing that that we know good from bad. And that is it, folks. So if I have taken up too much time, I apologize.
No, thank you very much, Roger. It's good to hear a new voice in our room. And before we go any further, I want to let you know this room only opens once a week, and you're here at the time that we open, which is, we try to set it around this time when we get going. So welcome to the room, Roger, and your input is most appreciated. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I've taken the flip camera and shut it off right now, so Roger's remarks were not recorded, nor are any of the rest of your remarks going to be recorded this morning. I got a full 11 minutes and 30 seconds of Jim, and we'll see how that goes. This is all a work in progress here. We are going to post this on YouTube at our site, but like I said, and what we're talking about, if you look up in the black banner, it really ought to say weighing a life. We're talking about how we weigh our life in relation to the fourth way, the teachings of G.I. Gurdjieff and P.D. Ouspensky and A.R. Orage. You may or may not be familiar with those names, but that's kind of what this room is based on. And I do want to say this. It's interesting to me as I've pondered my life over the last couple of weeks. I have actually received some information that was rather startling and not necessarily a pleasant experience about myself. Just in brief, I made some of these remarks earlier when Camille and Martin were the only two people in the room, but so it's going to be a little bit repetitive for them. But the realization as I was looking over my life was that I had quite a high opinion of myself, and not necessarily justified, because I've acted abysmally towards people, and many times during my life I've burned a lot of friendships. Consequently, just about all the friendships that I now have are people that I either work with or people that I've met online, of which many of you on the group today I consider my friends. Interestingly enough, this high opinion I have of myself, when I start to look at it dispassionately from the standpoint of other human beings, I see that that same high opinion is not shared universally. It's just a real hard thing to grasp, but other people don't have that same high opinion of myself that I have. I mean, it's truly a shocker, if you know what I mean. And I'm going to set my mic a little bit lower here. You know, and I think about what I've done to other people. How many friends that I once considered friends will no longer even speak to me, or have very little to do with me, if anything at all, and how I've behaved in the past, and probably how some of the bad choices that I've made throughout my life influence the perception that I get from people who don't know who I am today, and why they might have washed their hands of me. It's kind of a sad but true thing that when you start thinking about all the mistakes that you've made and the regrets that you've made. But just honestly, when I start looking at my life from the standpoint of other human beings, I can understand where, you know, like on the one hand, for instance, my job. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life, but it's a damn sight distant from where I thought I'd be, what I thought I'd be doing. I imagined myself in all kinds of different occupations and realities at this point in time, none of which came true. And the fact that I've accomplished anything at all during my life is almost a miracle, considering how badly I've abused my body, for instance. and how badly I've treated other people. So it's curious, and I'm laughing about it, but it's just, you know, there's a book in the Bible called Ecclesiastes that talks about how all is vanity. And I can really understand where that author was coming from when he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, because so much of what I consider worthwhile and in the realm of accomplishments when it comes to my life is vanity. And I'll turn the mic over as soon as I find the button.
Good God, when I start I can't shut up. You'll have to excuse me. You're talking in the singular, and that is you. How can you do better? I am surprised that I got so far. I may have made enemies. I may have committed, let's say, a deed, sin, or whatever you like to do it, or you let somebody else down. But when you talk in the plural, when you talk, other people have to learn, i.e. karma. They do say if one is smited on the left cheek, one should turn the right cheek. To me, I'm sorry, that is wrong. If one smites me on the left, then I'll hit him on the right. But through your life, you've done good, done bad, done indifferent. But there are other people who have to learn, call it karma, call it whatever you will, who have to learn through the experiences that they have had through meeting you. So it's an educational thing. I turn around and I say to somebody, oh, shut up, you're too mouthy, you're saying too much, be quiet and say nothing else. Now, have I got a lesson to learn by saying that? Was I bad-mannered? Was I a bully? Or perhaps they've got a lesson to learn and think, yes, I am a bit mouthy. Yes, I am talking out of turn. So, for every deed that you have committed, whether it be good deed or bad deed, depending on what it is, the person who is in your vicinity or the person that you did that to, have they not got something to learn to enhance their experience in life?
We're getting some really good conversation here and some really good thinking. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the recorder now, and I think I've got more megabytes than my computer can even handle. I went ahead and recorded you, Roger, and all the way up until now, and we'll see how it comes out, and if it's any good, we're going to put it on YouTube.